Question number 9, Chris Hipkins.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Education. Does she stand by her predecessor's statement in 2010 regarding truancy that, quote, "We cannot sit back and do nothing. These figures are really shocking and we need to get serious about tackling this problem," end quote? If so, by how much has the truancy rate increased since then?
The Honourable Hikia Parata.
Mr Speaker, I do indeed stand by my colleague's statement and wholeheartedly support her sentiment. Since 2011, there has been a 0.6 percentage point increase in unexplained absences. One unjustified absence is one too many. We want kids to be in school and learning. What we saw under the previous Labor government was a 41% increase in the rate of unexplained absence, and they were so complacent that they only measured truancy every 2 years. Under this government, we're working hard, and that is why since 2011 we have had an electronic survey every year to encourage a more regular collection of data, give us a better understanding of who the kids are that are not consistently attending school and how we can keep them at school and learning.
Supplementary question, Mr
Supplementary question, Chris Hipkins.
Does the attendance in New Zealand schools 2014 survey results show that 1 in every 78 students regularly bunked school in 2014, a 30% increase on the number the year before?
The Honourable Hikia Parata.
No, Mr Speaker, it doesn't. What it shows is that the frequent truant rate increased from 1% in 2013 to 1.3% in 2014, while I'm glad the opposition takes so much pleasure in checking how well kids stay away from school.
Just complete the answer.
So we are working very hard to keep kids at school, and playing with percentages may be what the opposition wants to do, but we're focused on getting kids to school.
Supplementary question, Mr Speaker.
Supplementary question, Chris Hipkins.
Why is a 30% increase in the number of students regularly skipping classes acceptable, and what confidence can parents have that she's dealing with the issue, given after 7 years of national government the problem is getting worse?
The Honourable Hikia Parata, either of those two supplementary questions.
Mr Speaker, what the attendance service deals with is chronic truancy. What the member is referring to is overall truancy, which of course is a partnership between parents and school and government. So the government is doing its part to get and keep kids at school. That's why we've introduced positive behaviour for learning in 600 schools. That's why we've introduced Ka Eke Panuku, which has seen Māori attendance and suspensions halved in the time we have been in government. Pacifica absence decreased since we've been in government. But overall truancy is a partnership between parents, their children, schools and the government.
Supplementary question, Mr
Supplementary
Speaker.
question, Chris Hipkins.
Is it acceptable that students were absent for almost 10% of their classes last year, and thousands of students were wagging school on a regular basis?
The Honourable Hikia Parata.
Of course it isn't. It isn't acceptable, and that's why we've introduced a new attendance service. We have increased the funding to it to $9.5 million. We have introduced 24 new providers across the country. We're working with 6 social sector trials. We are engaging with parents to see that their kids are at school. We're providing more engaged pathways through the vocational pathways, 5,250 Trades Academy places, 10,000 fees-free places.
Order, bring the answer to a conclusion.
We're working hard at this.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question, Chris Hipkins.
Has she seen the comment, quote, "In a country as small as ours, it is ludicrous to think we can't keep proper track of where our young people are. We can do much better for our young people, because if we don't, there'll be more mindless murders like that of Michael Choi," end quote. If so, and if everything is going so well as she says, has Bill English asked her to explain, the author of that comment, why truancy continues to go up after 7 years of a national government?
Again, either of those two supplementary questions, the Honourable Hiki Parata.
I, along with other ministers, are constantly scrutinised because we believe in transparency and self-review on how well we are doing. I have not once said that I am complacent about this. What I was demonstrating was that we are investing significantly into this area so that we get consistent attendance. And can I just draw the members' understanding to the distinction between kids being sick and therefore not being at school, kids coming from families who are dealing with mental health illness who are not being at school, and kids who are chronically truant. There is a difference between the surveys that have been reported today.
Question number 10.